Hello and welcome to another episode of the Federal Church Presents Better Than Bloomberg. Continuing our coverage of the global financial system collapse 2024, you're gonna be fucking poor. We're doing a follow up on the one of the last few videos we did on the Japanese yen and their banking system implosion with their agricultural bank going under. And I say that specifically because it is an agricultural bank. It is not a bank that engages in high risk, ultra toxic derivatives products that are essentially horseshit. It's an agricultural bank. So it's quite significant. But in recent days, I had seen a little bit of hilarity. And the first question to ask is if the clowns at the DOJ did this because of their own volition, or if certain assholes like from the Fed told them to. Those dipshits who managed to implode the U.S. dollar and the full faith and credit of the United States. But I saw this headline today, and I had to make a video because the BOJ hiked rates. How on earth is this going to fix anything? Oh, and here are some Japanese people having some anxiety, by the way, desperately spying on me, and more shit they're already pulling. Don't even get me started. But read this headline, and if you know anything about the monetary and financial system of Japan, explain to me how that makes any fucking sense. Just these two words: BOJ hiked rates. How the fuck does that goddamn work? The Bank of Japan is the only one who buys their debt. So they just raise the interest rates on themselves. This isn't going to help their currency either, because inflation is well into the double digits. And if you hike into the double digits, you're going to implode an already stagnant economy where you printed, what is it, uh, trillions of US dollars over the last 20, 30 years. If you hiked rates, and again, everybody else on earth is printing money and keeping in lockstep with each other and cutting rates, kind of like what I just saw, I think it was the BOE. Who on the fucking, who on earth told you to hike rates? Who thought this was a good idea? And again, as somebody else put it more eloquently than I have, it is a structural problem there. One that monetary policy cannot fix. And then you do that. Probably not a good fucking idea. But in any case, yeah. So it was down to 158 against the dollar. But again, you have to look at that as the shit that it is too. The dollar is garbage. It's been printed into oblivion. The only barometer that you would have against the yen would be real assets like gold, bullion, commodities. Things you can't get with computer entries. So it was down to 158 now, temporarily against the dollar is back down to 150, which is still pretty fucking horrible. So I have no idea what they're doing. So it appreciated by what, less than a percent essentially. So raising the short term interest rate too. when your entire banking system is fucked because you're the only one who buys these short-term debt too. What the fuck are you doing? And what I had said earlier to my friend Zero Hedge over the should not be happening fucking what would you call it broadcast, right? Is that at least in a Ponzi scheme, you get new money into the system. You know, your little, if you want to call the Ponzi scheme a system. At least you bring new money to it and funnel it to the old people. Here, in this shit show, you have the Japanese central bank, and then you have the Japanese debt, I guess the Japanese treasury, right? Finance minister, what do you call it? Whatever they call it. I don't know how to say it in Japanese. And it's just oh, I'm gonna print money to buy your fucking bullshit debt that you issued. It's just one little retarded circle. At least in a Ponzi scheme, you get new money into it. So they're essentially more fucked than a Ponzi scheme. But following up on the Norinchukin failure too, which is an agricultural bank. Oh, and even better, they are now on a risky path to more hikes. So they're telegraphing that they're going to keep raising rates and imploding their economy even more. Again, and nobody in their right mind would buy up their yen, for example, because inflation still kills it. It is still far more than anything they. You would still lose money to hold the yen. But here's some of the recent articles about it. I don't have access to a Bloomberg terminal. That's why I keep going off of my good buddy there, Zero Hedges, wonderful website. So Japan's biggest agricultural bank posts 413 billion yen loss from rate bets gone bad. No shit. Look at that. I don't know how much that is in US dollars, but I'm sure it's a lot of money. Because agricultural banks aren't in the business of speculation. A $2.75 billion US loss. And that's just what they've booked. Not to mention, they keep running that bullshit unrealized losses. We'll just pretend we didn't lose anything because we won't mark it right now. Bullshit. So it's a relatively small amount, but the point is the bank is insolvent. And even when they're fudging numbers, they're still losing $3 billion, which probably is somewhat significant for an agricultural bank. It won't be something for, Sumitomo, but still. Norwich UK to give first peek into 65 billion US dollar bond sell-off. So they're fucked. Look at that. Because now that's a good chunk of change right there of unprofitable sovereign debt holdings. So just imagine that. It'll probably be a combination of those worthless Japanese bonds, where there is no market for it, because the only buyer is the Japanese central bank. There is no market for this shit. You're not going to call somebody up and say, hey, I have a billion of this, dated this, whatever. Hey, what can you do? No, you're not going to get shit. And then what else will it be? U.S. toiletries, which will only see rate hikes, which was another part of the farce hilarity, or in itself is a farce, because I see people talking about cutting rates. Where the hell did they get this idea? Did inflation go somewhere all of a sudden? That 50% inflation they all whine about? It's not. That's not going to happen. But Norinchukin Bank will give a first glimpse into how it is unwinding $65 billion worth of unprofitable sovereign debt holdings when it announces its quarterly results on Thursday. This is from that's today. The unlisted Japanese agricultural bank will disclose its fiscal first quarter earnings after it shocked the market with massive projected losses. Bullshit marks. Unrealized. No, not bullshit mark. It actually is bullshit. Unrealized loss. No, you realize them. That's why your bank's insolvent. You're all shitting yourselves. From bad bets on interest rates, market attention is likely to focus on the latest makeup of its investment portfolio, which stood at about 365 billion in March. So, little under 20% of that they're already admitting when you know it's 100% of the that's actually crap. The bank will also provide an update on capital raising as well as the tally of unrealized losses on bond and other securities holdings. The paper losses ballooned to 12 billion US dollars as of March after the US Federal Reserve started aggressive interest rate hikes in 2022. And those aren't going to be going anywhere but up. Still, the results are unlikely to show drastic changes in its investment portfolio since the bank has said it will gradually sell down the bonds through the current fiscal year ending in March. And there are no plans for a press briefing by company officials, including Chief Executive Officer Kazuto Oku. But another point to be made too was it's not in this article, but you saw their markets imploding today or yesterday, or Hawaii time. You see them imploding yesterday because they all know goddamn well the banks are insolvent and the only way up is that rates are going up, which they're telegraphing, but it won't nearly be enough until it's well into the double digits, which means an absolute implosion of a already stagnant economy, something already in stagflation. That's like 50% rates, which is unheard of, but the reality for them. So you get to see a little gravity back to reality for those prices. It is a large holding to dispose of, even over a long period of time, said Pramod Shenoy, head of Asia Pacific Research at Credit Suisse Inc. in Singapore. There is uncertainty about whether their estimates of realized losses will be met. Oh, and again, don't forget who bears that interest rate. Who has to well, service the cost of that debt. It'll be their central banks printing money, leading to more inflation, well into the double digits. Already well into the double digits. So, in June, Norinchukin said its annual loss is likely to be about 1.5 trillion yen, triple the amount that it had forecast just a month earlier. Plans to sell about 10 trillion worth of US and European sovereign bonds this fiscal year as it tries to revamp its securities portfolio. Bonds have become a problem. Oh, shit. After a surge in funding costs, again, yen imploding, following sharp rate hikes by the Fed and other central banks. But again, nobody would hold any of these fucking currencies to begin with because inflation kills it. The fucking carry isn't there. Norinchukin's pace of divestment, if any, could be driven by its foreign currency funding, which will probably be seeing implosions too, but for other reasons, including just economic fucking failure. Said Bloomberg intelligence credit analyst Pre De Silva, the lender should be able to orchestrate a deleveraging, which is even funnier because who would he sell it to? There is no market for it. The only market for it is the BOJ. If it chooses to go down that path due to the depth of these sovereign and quasi-sovereign markets. So, note you may need to, fucking clowns. Uh, Any losses on bond sales won't affect the bank's regulatory capital because it already reflects the paper losses. No, it doesn't because those marks are bullshit too. But the point is, they're fucked. Even so, Norinchukin is in talks to raise 1.2 million or trillion yen in capital from member cooperatives. Then these clowns aren't even worth fucking talking about. Point is, you have a banking failure in Japan, and it's going to spread to the rest of, well, all the G7 currencies and Asia. But for some of them, that might actually be good because some of them are in debt denominated in that crap. So now their debt's worthless. There's their counterparty risk, by the way. Counterparty's fucked. But, oh, that was just because somebody was asking me about counterparty risk in a very nice job interview. But, yeah, let's hope that Bundesbank gives the Reverend a call, too. Don't forget to donate because, well, you're going to be poor. Blessings.